Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Minahan. This is Talk Cosmos, and Happy New Year. It's right around the corner. Today is, well, above the equator. It is where we are. It's December 28th. My guess is down below, and it's the 29th. No matter, you might be listening to it later, but the important factor is, where are we in time? And interestingly, of course, we had the solstice, that point when the sun is above the Tropic of Capricorn, down below the equator. And it was 28 degrees Sagittarius, which means it just passed the galactic center. It's a monumental time. And our focus here is directing 2026 ahead. But instead of giving an entire blow-by-blow phase, we're having a conversation with some slides, of course. It's hard to get away from them. For me, I'm my trainer wheels, but still graphics are beautiful, pictures. And this is a year of great creativity. And my guest is going to help me a lot. She is a creative soul from the word go. And I'm thrilled to present today, looking ahead. So now we're ready for our panel. Yes. Hi, Melissa.
Oh, I'm on. Okay, cool.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't muted. Let's not be muted.
I know. Well, I guess it's like a flickering light, some of those stars that kind of come and then you see it. Well, Melissa Elvira Billington is in Brisbane, Australia, and she's on Substack, which we will show up later again, but it's her entire name, Melissa Elvira Billington. Substack.com. And she has a YouTube too at Melissa Elvira Billington. And myself, Talk Cosmos, Sue Minahan. And I thank you, everybody, for following and subscribing. So here is Melissa in one of her most wonderful portraits, because she is a creator of one act events and productions, and we'll bring that up too. But on Substack, it's Trust the Longer Journey. And
it's key that we trust the longer journey, at least for me. That's the only way I can manage.
I totally agree. And does yoga all around the world. She's studied, and not just studied, but taught. So it's really an active part of her studies. And she, like myself, are graduates of the Dwarf Planet University, but Melissa co-authored several books and taught in this as of this past year, 2025. Yeah. And just completed her studies at Master of Environmental Management at University of Queensland, Brisbane, Australia. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I would love for that degree to be called a master or a mistress of human management in environmental relations, because I feel like we need to learn to manage ourselves and develop better relationships with the more than human. And master is a bit gender specific.
I love this. In fact, we'll have to add that. We'll have to add it. Yeah. And
add that.
To get a hold of Melissa, another great factor, you're so much on Instagram. This is a QR code
where you can DM me if you're interested in what I'm offering, that we'll touch on later in terms of what it is. But this is the way to contact me.
Goody. Well, myself, Sue Minahan, is Talk Cosmos, and since 2018. This is a little drawing I did one time just to kind of express. And that's really what the whole conversation is going to be about, bringing up that creative energy, looking at ourselves rather than the exterior, using whatever exterior and composting it. At any rate, there we go. Let's talk about Aries a bit, Melissa, because in this year, right now, Mars and Venus are cohabitating. You could say the same degrees within around the sun for the entire month. I think really because there's a Venus star point on the 6th of January happening. But here we have a little graphic that say that when and the little chart there shows that on January 1st, the sun is smack dab as the midpoint between
in Capricorn.
Yes.
Right. So we're building, setting the foundations, and all of those personal planets together, as well as the outer planets. We have Kwawa in there as well, right?
Yes.
Kwawa, creation god of the Tongva people of what's now known as Los Angeles, and has to do with the dancing and singing a new reality into existence. What more could we ask for? Like, that's exactly what we need.
Exactly. It is so true. Whether you turn on the music, which I often do, and I just can't help but express myself moving in some creative form. And that may not be Isadora Duncan. It's Sue Minahan. Thank you. And my audience is me and my husband and a bird that flies in. I love it. And yes, so singing and dancing. Or listening to music, it speaks. It's really part of our primal heartbeat that we were born with. You know, I studied in college when I went back, the child development, various much about children. And there was a pianist who later remembered that a song he learned that it was a favorite song of his. His mother had been playing. She too was a pianist when he was in the womb, and for some reason hadn't heard it before. At any rate, we hear things.
Well, the sound is the first sense to develop in the womb, and it's the last sense to go when we're dying, which is why the Tibetan Book of the Dead is meant to be read to the person who's dying, because they can still hear you even when other functions have shut down. So sound is really powerful, really impactful. But I was also wanting to touch on, you were talking about creativity, and I'm a big fan of non-celebritizing. I feel like we put so many people, celebrities, on pedestals, and then that denies us our birthright of creativity. And we were talking when we were jamming about the session of creativity and how I choose, specifically in my languaging, which often comes through sound, but also is to choose the word co-creation versus collaborate, because that means to work together, to labor, to co-labor. Right? But creation as a word means to arise. So let's all rise. Let's all arise. Right? And so that requires that we elevate our own right and capacity to express. It's not comparing. You don't need to compare to any dancer or singer. It's what is your expression arising from you?
It is true. I think with that creation, just looking here, right from the very get-go, starting off the year, where this Quaoar is Q-U-A, or Q-U-A-O-A-R, folks. And it's not a person. It's just an energy that was evolving into form. So when you think of the download of source, however you want to call it, into creating something, we don't necessarily, it's an unknown path. We may have an idea of what we're trying to expect or hoping for, or what we're working with. We're kind of composting, because sometimes the emotions is how to turn the ugly into the good, just like you have a bunch of garbage and it makes good soil, for little seeds. So
and I just wanted to respond to that in terms of Quaoar and all of these dwarf planets, since that's where we know each other, is through those studies. They're named after creation deities, male, female, and Quaoar is non-gendered. So it's our first non-gendered, non-binary, and I find vowels are more feminine. They're more open, and I find that interesting in texting how we eliminate the vowels when we make something, even text, TXT. We know that means text, but the E is taken out. Kwawa is full of vowels. So how do we say it? Kwawa, kwawa, kwawa. Like my whole mouth is open, right?
Yeah. Sound is incredible. For instance, the open vowels here in Hawaii, you think of the waves just coming in and the dancing. Here I put, you might notice the blue and the pink. And the only reason for the blue and the pink was I have that other one was green and I have paper. And I thought, well, I'll try it on blue. And, you know, when you create something and then try to recreate, it's always going to be different. And there I had done, I was working with spirals and arrows just for like evolution of direction and action, really, with just forces of being. And then I thought, well, I kind of liked it, but how would the pink go? Well, there I forgot that I had done the spiral separate from the arrow. So now it has an energy there. So whether we see it as a sunset or whether we see it as a proverbial she and he, or, you know, sunrise.
You mean the blue and the pink as being like the gender reveal? Like I have a dear friend who's not revealed the gender of their child, and so they refer to the child as they and them, and that's very tricky for many people to even comprehend from that, or from the get-go, from birth. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say consciousness. That's really true. Thinking of kwawa, and my pronunciation, pardon, but is non-gendered. So therefore it's the consciousness, the awareness, the awakening, the forming. And we form by different ways. We can either have like a spiral of evolution and trying to attach it to a direction, and maybe like synopsis of the brain cells, you know, leaping across in order to find that, or else it's just one motion and it gets directed out. Whether it's a yin and receiving, something had to enter. Whether it's projecting. In other words, it's a tango. You know, you can't receive without, you know, without projecting. It works both ways, just like us in consciousness. I like it. Yeah.
And I would also say that a lot of times people struggle to receive. It's actually harder to receive graciously than to give. I think we see that as having more power. I have enough to give it away, so I feel more comfortable with that position. Whereas receiving might require the ego to take a back seat.
Yes. And here we have Venus. Now in that chart, we have Venus first. Remember, and Venus will be conjuncting the sun on the 6th for that Capricorn Venus star point, 1 of 5. But here, Venus with relationships, and it's also with Taurus. Taurus is self-worth. Isn't it interesting? It's going to, with your saying, like hard to receive. It all has to do about giving self-worth to ourselves. And that is without comparison, I think, of rating ourselves with somebody else in a relationship, allowing both to be, because what I had forgotten is there's a golden shadow. And that's where we pile on all the accolades to somebody else, where ourself might be actually not experiencing, but performing those things, but we're somehow afraid or unwilling to recognize.
What that brings to my mind is, you know, how it can be hard to receive a compliment, much less, you know, money or material goods, a simple compliment. And so what I found really helpful in that regard that you're talking about is it takes one to see one. You know, so if somebody gives me a compliment, I'll say it takes one to see one, meaning you couldn't possibly recognize in me what you don't already have in you.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
So it's not like I'm not receiving a compliment, but I am saying, yeah, we share that. We share that thing that you're admiring.
Along with a thank you and an equality basis. It's interesting. Now here, it is in Capricorn. That's why I have the sea goat, and that's Venus up in the stars. And here are the two planets on either side. It's so interesting that Earth is surrounded by these two personal planets, with Venus and of course the lovers. They're in the best way, some kind of harmony of production. In vibrational astrology, when they're combined, you want to hands-on produce. And I think with creativity, that's what I'm hoping this year will implement, because we have Neptune and Saturn in Aries, where we're looking at Mars, but we're also changing our identity, experiencing our identity. New ways, right?
You mean because of Aries? Because of are you saying that because of
Aries? Yeah, because of Aries. And here's Mars. Mm-hmm.
Right. Very shiny, metallic.
That's true. That's true. And golden. But it is, come to think of it. Yeah, isn't that with the mythology where Vulcan, who's Hephaestus, who married Venus only because he blackmailed his mother, because his mother had rejected him. It isn't this long story, but he had been lame, thrown out and lame. And the mother rejected him. The father rejected him. And but he was a great smith and iron. Anyway, he made a chair that Hera, Juno, his mother, sat in and couldn't get out. And so he said, well, the only way you're going to get out is to give what I want. And what he wanted was to marry Venus, the most beautiful woman. So he ends up marrying her, but of course that didn't really last. She was with Mars and everybody else.
Well, it wasn't consensual, was it?
No, it wasn't. That's right.
It was, contrived.
And so those two are lovers, because there's this attraction for harmony. There is this giving and receiving, this, from so many ways, a relationship of life. And yet he caught them, his big idea in a net. So I'm thinking metal is a lot with forgery, with the tools that he used to, it's hard to talk about Mars without using the gender, but we all have this. So we all apply our assertion, any Aries. I have my North Node there. You are an Aries.
I have a lot of Aries. I have Mercury, Chariklo, Eris, and Chiron, and my Sun, all in Aries. So
yeah,
I think that's why you put me on.
North Node, Eris. Yeah, it's South Node.
So Aries, also, I think of Aries. Would it be the child or the fool in the tarot? The child. I don't remember the tarot card number, but the child that's sitting on the horse. It's just like there's this innocence.
Oh, that's the sun, I think. Yeah, it is the sun. We're sitting on the horse, and the beginning. But yes, I'm not really adept with tarot to know. There is with Mars. It's not the magician. It might be the fool, 0, because we're inventing ourselves. We're always pioneering. We're going out and exploring and trying this out just instinctively.
That was the key word that you had associated, which I definitely resonate with. It's more about the instinct. Now here we are.
Yeah.
Becoming.
And when those two huge planets get together, which we have these in 2026, this is like a prelude to what is the energy that you and I are trying to expose. It is that, okay, we're starting off with this union of finding how to create harm together, but ahead is Neptune and Saturn, which is going to be the first time in 0 degrees Aries for 9,000 years, which is really amazing. Yeah, that's when we left nomadic during the Ice Age. The Ice Age was like 11,000 years. It was quite a period of time. And people were beginning to land and form agriculture, which is so much with Ceres, which is the other inner dwarf planet we both love. And there she is. Look at that in Aries still. Ceres is right conjunct Chiron and Eris. So they're all healing. We have this healing energy that's so important and the moon is almost like a midpoint with Salacia between that 0 point and 23, 24, 21 point, give or take. But it's really a powerful energy so that we're nurturing what heals and not excluding anything. We want the whole package somehow in our world of beginnings, of source, of spirituality,
That brings to mind is how children, you don't need, I'm not a fan of plastic, so you don't need fancy plastic toys, you just need a box and a rock and some critters, what is right there. It doesn't have to be fancy. The imagination can apply and bridge between. But I love to see Salacia there, the one that looks like a shell. So going from top to bottom, you have Neptune, Saturn, Salacia that looks like the shell. The moon is obvious. Ceres that looks like the hook, for harvesting the grain, the what do you call that? Scythe.
Scythe, yeah.
Chiron that looks like the key, and then Eris is same symbol as Mars, but Earth down, right?
Yes.
So Mars has that arrow
Bringing
going
spirit down to Earth, or down
right.
to Earth, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
I would say rooting it into the Earth. And so having Chiron sandwiched between Ceres and Eris does feel, as you said, very healing and reconnecting us to, the mother, Ceres as the mother, and the Earth as our mother, and also Eris as the sister of Aries.
Nurturing ourselves, because Ceres, that was her final, she taught agriculture. She taught people, she didn't replace what she had maybe lost, because there's grief with Ceres, that huge loss, but instead finding the gratitude to share. And I think that's a lot in Aries, especially the new identity, is like finding through creativity a part of ourselves that we had maybe overlooked, that we were not accepting, and to experience it,
Absolutely.
This is really Saturn in that, where in the story, Saturn rejected all his creations because he thought somebody would overthrow him. And finally, Jupiter comes along and he throws them all up, and there's a big war and whatnot. But with Neptune, so Neptune was one of the brothers of Jupiter that was swallowed. So here's these two brothers coming together of Pluto. No, who are the brothers? Oh no, it's Saturn. Saturn, the father, with the sun, one of the sons, Neptune in Aries.
I find that interesting what you're saying in terms of the last slide. What we throw out ahead of ourselves is then what we meet. So Saturn was he was afraid that he was going to be overthrown and tried to, prevent it, only to perpetuate it. So there's a cautionary tale in there about how we dialogue with, how we befriend our fears instead of fighting against them.
Yes, and in that case, to submerge ourselves with it, because when we think of Neptune isn't always calm. Neptune is the storms, and he rules thunder, earthquakes, and rules, the oceans, the huge magnitude of water. And really, and life, meaning, and it's emotion, it's water. So if we allow ourselves to take what it is that we're fearful of losing control, and the unknown is we don't have control over the unknown, and that's where I think the new perspective of trusting with
a longer journey.
Say that again. What?
Trust the longer journey.
Yeah.
Trust the longer journey.
The process.
But also, I feel like I call it the delusion of control. Control is a delusion. And maybe that's distinctive Aries nature coming through, it just seems ridiculous to me how much we might try to control. And the more we try to control, the less open and available we are to what is.
And in Neptune and Pisces, this idea too with Saturn coming in, it's the unexpected partnership, the co-creation of source, that we see it through a sign, we see it through an energy, we see it through a book, we see it through something that leads us further. We have about a minute or so. At any rate, before we jump to the second half, I know you have been doing this 12 days of embodied consciousness that is still happening. It has a couple of extra days. We haven't got to the 31st yet. And it's learning to use, and it's huge because, like you say, in our heads, we know one thing, but are we feeling it? Tell us a little bit.
Well, that's the question that people ask me. What is embodied consciousness? And for me, I'm like, my work is already done. I planted the seed of wondering, what is this? So to me, it's just becoming more aware of, we know all sorts of things. We know all sorts of amazing things, but are we thinking in line? Are we aligned with that wisdom in our thoughts? Are we aligned with our words and with our
heart,
actions?
our feeling, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And we are going to take a break, but I think too, this shows that how many ways, and it's online right now, that people that have been participating, I don't know if they can still participate, but we'll get ahead. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but thank you. This is one way of sharing with people a creative act. Okay, folks, 2026, we're not there yet. It's happening. And I'm with Melissa Elvira Billington of Australia, and it's Sue. We'll be back. Stay with us. Thanks.
While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, the furthest visible planet by the eye. By leaving a cycle based on meaningfulness and truth, Capricorn's energy establishes social boundaries in a structure incorporating rules, authority, and ethics. As a cardinal earth sign depicted by a sea goat climbing from the sea up to the top of a mountain, Capricorn overcomes fears through goals and ambitions to achieve mastery.
This is psychological astrologer Dr. Laura Todd. Please join me, Michelle Fleming, and Edja Caleb February 21st through the 28th for Evolutionary Training's annual Goddess Awakening Retreat in Playa El Coco, Nicaragua. Enjoy daily yoga, well-being workshops, melt classes, baby sea turtles, and more. To register, go to mythicsky.com.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to Linda Rasmussen at verticalenergyworldwide.com, we cover the world of animals. This week, January 4th, it's Shelter Rescue Sanctuary and anything that helps our animal friends Sunday. We'll talk with Meow Cat Rescue, Help Animals India, Merritt and Beth Clifton from animals24-7.org, plus we'll find out what's coming up in the new year at the Ananda Institute for Living Yoga. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Happy holidays from all of us at Alternative Talk 1150 AM.
Okay, we are back again. And this is 2026. How are we going to feel? What's the meaningfulness for it? And I'm with Melissa Elvira Billington. And you can get a hold of her at Substack. And then earlier there was the Instagram. So with your Trust the Longer Journey, this is, besides the other, you have quite a following. It's dynamic. I love it. You're verbose. It's prolific.
Verbose. I hope in a good way. Yes, I've had dual careers in creative and healing arts, and then I've made this big leap into science. So I'm looking to bridge. And there's some exciting things for me happening in the new year. One is continuing Trust the Longer Journey. It gives me that creative outlet and expression because I think through words, through writing. And then another one is I'm going to be podcasting for a literary magazine called Science Right Now, spelled WRITE, which is creativity inspired by science. So I'm quite excited about that, and maybe continuing to do some research. So I'm going to be applying for potentially PhD work and continuing the research in what I've been looking at already. But the writing helps me bring it all together. It's all of these threads and weaving it into one expression.
Channeling how we do creativity. I'm glad this reminds me to bring two people that's a big factor of creativity. In one little way can get repurposed in another way. And I think like you were doing the 12 days, to kind of fill in, and we're inspired each day doing through 12 of the zodiac, between the 19th and 31st. But briefly speaking, you have a plan to bring that up archetypally starting in March with Aries, so that people, if they get a hold of your Substack or Instagram, can participate with a bigger journey. Yeah?
Yes. I may do another little journey in February in line with what we're talking about. That feels like a potent thing. This has been very last minute, but it's come together in such a beautiful way. And I've really been grateful for all of those who have participated. And I was doing a little bit of checking with them. Do you think I should do a bigger journey? Because so many of these embodied practices may be really simple, but unless we repeat them and unless we have encouragement and accountability from one another, again, they stay in the mental. Oh, I know I should have lemon water in the morning. I know I should do neti. I know I should. And I'm a bit wary of should, as somebody, some sort
or
of
that
authority.
I want, or feel like I want to do it, but other priorities seem to step in the way. I know I'm writing out desires, and it's to have time sufficient for this, time sufficient for that, and to feel like I'm producing and productive and meaningful. Well, excellent. People, thank you, Melissa. And to let people know, a lot of our conversation here is maybe an example of how creativity can feed off of each other to encourage you. Take, whether it's pen, whether it's paper, whether it's writing or dancing, movement. There's a multitude. For Talk Cosmos.
Where you feel expressing.
Yes. And there's the mystery charts, which is always exciting. I've returned to that, where we have 2 mystery charts. It's quite fun. And vibrational astrology is a message that gives for the entire season. And in fact, for this season, there are 3 ideas that I wanted to do. One is that it's an empty hammock, that there's full of potentiality, that it is like the sunshine. These are Sabians that Linda Barry brought up. And Linda Berry has a new vibrational class that is starting. But just to bring up that as far as the concepts that we can use, that right now we're in this potential birthing of energy. And it's like the sunshine coming in after a storm, where it's clearing the air, it's letting trust, it's getting rid of fear, and having the baggage that we've maybe carried along with us to kind of pass it and recompost it as we want. Because really, to get unity of mind, body, and spirit is the connection. So anyway, next week, we're going to do new moon and full moon happening. And there is a moon journal if one wants to. It's mythicsky.com. Has the 8 phases. So now we're going to talk. We're really just going to talk. It's making that choice to be your best medicine, isn't it? Yes. And choosing.
Well, so you know how I am with words, Sue. I don't know who else is listening that might know me, but I love linguistics and etymology, the roots of words, and that's what I always go to if I'm sort of stuck. I have a question, I'll then drill down into the words in the question themselves, and then what's the story, the root system, the mycelial network of that word. So medicine, of course, I had to look up. What does that mean? And it means to take appropriate and suitable actions or measures. So that to me indicates a certain level of trusting. We're stepping into the unknown because it's going to be cool. It's going to be, what is the situation? What are the tools or the means that I have to heal, to cure, to treat? And one phrase that I love that I used in my first solo show was transmuting poison into potion for present and future generations.
Alchemy, yes. It's really so chironic too, that wound and using it to teach and give or let go.
And the medicine at the root of it, med, is the Proto-Indo-European root, and that gives us so many words. A few of them are empty. We're talking about baggage. Let's empty out the baggage, the non-nutritive. But there's also remedy, is another great word where we have med in the middle of it. And then medicate, medication. I prefer my medication to be more meditative than pharmaceutical, if possible. But also, two of my favorites, Medusa and Medea, when we're talking mythological associations.
Medea. Who is Medea? I'm trying to remember.
Medea is the character I've played a few times on my YouTube channel.
Metia, not D. Medea. Oh, it's D. No.
Medea, yes. So you know Jason and the Argonauts?
Yes.
So she married Jason and the Argonauts. She was the granddaughter of the sun. So that would be why her name is that, because she had that power, that potency, that medicine to be able to cast spells, to influence in certain ways. It's quite a big tale.
Well, Medusa is fascinating too, because Medusa, which I'm familiar with, I've had to really which brings us to mind that if we're looking at fear on a grand scale, it's because people think it's going to control them, or else they haven't looked at what they're scared about. But Medusa was only if you stared at yourself too long, then you would freeze. Because, for instance, that was where her head, the eyes, if you looked at it, you saw yourself, you'd freeze, because the shield stopped him. So it has a lot to do with turning the me to we. Me is where we begin with, and the creativity. It's very important not to ignore we have to build up our self-esteem and realize who we are in truthfulness, but then to share it and give it. At any rate,
Well, what comes to mind for me with that, and it's a bit cold here, so my arms are covered, but I usually have my armband on, which is the caduceus.
Oh, yes.
That symbol and it's the two snakes ascending the staff, and it's where they overlap is the chakras. The beej or seed sound for the heart chakra, in some traditions, is hum, which translates to mean we. And so I see the human body as not only an animal, but also a plant. So the base chakra, or the seed chakra, where our seeds lie in our body as humans, is in the pelvis. And then the seed drops the roots down into our root chakra, or energy center, into our legs and our feet. But then the seed also drops the roots down. It also sprouts up. And that sprout is that navel fire, power chakra. And the diaphragm I see as the surface of the earth. So when you plant seeds, they're under the ground and they sprout up, and then they pop through the surface of the earth. And that's then when they start to flower out. So the flower is the heart. And then as it comes up into these more subtle realms, in the upper energy centers, I see it as the aroma and the pollination capacity, or the procreation capacity. But so when you were talking about individuation, and then also it's like, yes, in classical Indian or yogic anatomy, we have the foundation is in ourselves, and then as we evolve and ascend, but we still need that foundation. We still need to come back to it. When I teach yoga, I actually start in what most people call the third chakra, go up, but instead of kind of popping off into nirvana, I cycle back around to that base chakra and back around to the pelvic energy center, which translates to mean one's own sweetness. So it's a dance.
Yeah, and there you go, Quara. Thinking of that dance, that singing, it's vibrations. And also when you brought up about sound being first and last, I'm thinking vibration is everything. I study vibrational astrology, but the planets, sound, water, light, everything, it's a particle and then it's part of the whole. So here, what you're expressing is a new consciousness. If we're thinking of that, this not only is the Saturn and Neptune a huge, since 9,000 years, but later in August is going to be Saturn trine Jupiter trine, and that goes back to the conjunction at 2020, which is a 38-year cycle. But that'll be one of three connections. And what I'm getting at is that there's this, if that must be very important about this new consciousness that is getting seeded, just as you're saying, is that it's identity. It's like, who are we? Yes, if people could have the control over agriculture, stay in a spot, nurture the plants, feed their family, build a society, have all these cultural ideas. Now that we have that, still again, who are we? It's Aries. It's in Aries. It's our identity. We are a creator, but it's not just ourselves. It's in co-creation. So what you're saying is that by going through the chakras, going through this beautiful imagery that you're giving is really so powerful. And it's
also,
I
was going to say, it's tied into your drawings of the spiral. So I consider not only the snakes, moving up in that way, in that imagery and that symbol of healing and health, but also like a hawk in a thermal. So they spiral, and in terms of understanding ourselves and forgiving ourselves and working with ourselves and our history and our baggage, the way that I teach my signature series is spiralically. So I say, if I have to start somewhere and end somewhere, I'm going to start at what most people call the third, move up, come into that culmination in the second chakra of one's own sweetness. But in reality, if I'm teaching year after year, you might start this time and we're working with, the crown chakra.
Yeah.
And yet if you continue, you're going to move through it. In our life experiences, how many times have I been like, oh, I thought I worked through this, and here I am in the same relationship dynamic. Here I am in the same whatever it is. My sense of that is that the more I can awaken to that pattern, the more I can see it coming. I may not be able to avoid it this time, but maybe another time around. So instead of feeling downtrodden, feeling upset about being in the same pattern, I think of it like a bird in a thermal. And I'm like, the fact that I can identify it is already advancement. The fact that I can see that I've been here before is already greater awareness.
Good point, too. This year, as we go into these outer planets, since we're talking about 2026, language is huge. Uranus is going to be in Gemini. Gemini is the twins, which go between the spirit and the matter, Castor and Pollux, and they want to find unity together. It doesn't mean one becomes the other. That it's a reflection, it's a unity, it's a dialogue, it's connection. It's all of that. So as we have heaven on earth here, perhaps because I'll also share some of mine, and I'm really thankful because here I was maybe doing a golden shadow was saying, Melissa, show your stuff. And you said, what about you, Sue? Yes, I do. I do art. I do poetry. I've written a play that I've never produced. That would be fun. But here, heaven on earth, that was yours. Here you are in this splendid outfit with all the dwarf planets. But the point of bringing it up here is to help people. I edited a bit, folks. This is what I produced out of what Melissa gave me. But having people kind of look at, like, from their own selves, asking these same questions. Why am I planning to work on this project? What were the challenges? And what's the significance or necessity? And I just choose a few. And you had said that it was to bring what we want to see on earth available in our world. And I'm thinking, just to spin off on that with Pluto in Aquarius, these air signs that are connecting and the fire that's we're going into a year of the fire horse. It's so everything is instinctive, but it is finding those community, expressing, doing, and sharing somehow.
And I would just say that these questions and my answers, but these questions come from a course that I did of science engagement in the community. So that's part of the and a lot of and that's the thing with acting, you can play music on your own. It's probably more enjoyable if you're doing it with other people. But you can paint on your own, you can write. There's certain art forms that are more solitary. Poetry, I would say, I have done it with other people. It's a different thing. But performance is inherently requires the audience and is impacted by the audience. There's kind of like there's something there to start with, but it becomes the different expression based on who's present.
Maybe that's one reason I so enjoy having Talk Cosmos with another person. It is that it's kind of, if nobody else, we're on stage with each other, or it's some kind of a dialogue and a call response, like music. It's like the old blues, call and response. It's that interaction and birthing something that's different than you imagined. So as you had said, it is true. The challenge is how to whittle down the material and featuring it. But that's the channeling business at Gong Gong, which is another dwarf planet here, which I too suffer from, or not suffer words. I love to experience, and I'm learning to just say, oh, good, more like yeast. Let's use it for another sourdough bread.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and in terms of the conversation, that image up there in the top left is me doing stand-up comedy, and I had done comedy improv, which is much more of what you're talking about. It's conversational. You have a shared trust. You're working with other people that you've worked with before. You know each other. There's a language, and so if you make an offer, they are going to support you and respond to that offer, which I think is also taking it beyond just the improv or acting world. It's a great one to spread out into the wider world. Is if somebody makes an offer, I feel like it's only good manners to say yes and. So even if it's not an offer that you want to fully receive or you agree with, you can say yes and let's go this way.
This is just briefly. So this isn't improv itself where you go to a comedy show and you've got a routine and you're talking to people. It's improv. Yeah. So it's I like
so I
it.
was making a distinction there between how much harder stand-up comedy is, because I have to be really clear about what I find funny, what message I want to extend across, and then the work is how to make this funny for the audience, how to get them
beautiful.
to see that it's, whereas with comedy improv, we're working together. It's dynamic and there's more energy for it.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
Well, I'll add, I did find a recent poem that I had written, and I did add that little spiral here with the star. And this is some of the little doodle. I went through a period of time of just sitting down with a day, writing a poem, and then doing a doodle, or doing a doodle and then writing a poem, whichever. And so these weren't together, but they're just fun little things that were just experiences. So heartbeats, are they like stars, pumping ferociously, like a sparkled star sets to shine? Heartbeats, are they like, better yet, a drum pounding against a tight stretched skin? Yes and no. The heart, it lives within a soul, encased to be the star of its life, to be the drum of their day. So there you go.
I like it so much better when you read it. It has all of the rhythm to it, and you're a musician.
Oh yeah, so. Yeah, and that's true. So I do. Yeah, it's fun. And so here we're going to close this out and just have you and me. Oh, you're looking good. Yes, clear as a bell. We have a few minutes and the music will start, but it's okay. You know, this business of changing ourselves to change the world, to be the change that we want to see, you know, which is part of what experiencing a new identity and finding a like-minded community is. That when I was listening to PBS and they were bringing back that in the 1890s, and of course at that time I think Neptune was conjunct Saturn. Anyway, there was, but that there was a cultural change first, and then the laws happened. But it was, but now people were referencing that because they were agreeing just exactly what you're saying. It's engagement, that rather than just keeping it cerebral in the head, actually embodying it in some way where we can experience and know it. And that's through trial and error and etc.
Well, be your best medicine. I just love this title for this talk. So it's such a great provocation. How are you your best medicine? How can you be? What are the tools that you already have, the means that you already have? And again, acknowledging that as a privilege to be able to have these conversations, to have means at the same time that everyone everywhere is faced with within and without all sorts of upheaval. You were just saying about the cultural change before the laws did. That's happening now.
Right. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Ooh, and this was in the newspaper here in Hawaii, but I think it's somewhere else. But it's saying about standardized tests, that they were built for a predictable world, and that world is gone. So really creativity walks into this and how to be our best medicine, because it's saying that people won't have the same profession like days of past, and that it's that we also, that learning is a big part of it, and how the meaningfulness, how can we make life to be meaningfulness? So that curious co-creativity is a huge part of it, that we can reimagine what learning is.
I would like to just reinsert the word being. You said before about being productive, but how about just, being your full chart, being your full radiance, being your full lesson.
Accepting, not inclusion, no exclusion, the good, the bad, the dreary, the lovable, the gratitude, the me, into we. Oh, Melissa,
So
I've really enjoyed.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll return. Next year I'm shifting gears and I'm opening up some slots. So March, maybe we'll be roaring with, we'll see. Thank you. Happy New Year's, everybody.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.